Okay, so we all use Adobe Acrobat, right? I mean, it's the go-to for PDF viewing.
Hmm.
But what if I told you it's capable of so much more?
Much more, especially if you're in the world of technical document.
And we're going deep on this today.
Yeah, we're taking a deep dive, actually, into an article by a senior technical writer named Curt Robbins.
Oh, wow. And this guy, Robbins, has worked with some really impressive companies.
Huge names, actually. FedEx, Microsoft, Northrop Grumman,
Wow.
TNC Bank, USAA, and Wells Fargo.
Okay, so this guy knows his stuff when it comes to documents.
Definitely. And he basically claims that for technical writers and IT professionals, Acrobat is like this secret weapon.
Interesting. So, like, what kinds of hidden features are we talking about here?
Well, one of the first things Robbins emphasizes is the whole consistent formatting thing.
Oh, right. I guess with technical documents, you really need everything to look exactly the same.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if you're viewing it on a high-res monitor or printing it out on, one of those old kind of grainy office printers.
Yeah, I'll see what you mean. Like, if the formatting is all over the place, it could make the whole document seem less credible.
Right, especially in a field where precision is like everything.
Totally.
And that's where Acrobat comes in.
Okay, so how does it help?
It just guarantees that your documents, no matter how they're accessed, they maintain their integrity, they look professional.
Huh. So it's not just about aesthetics then, it's about making sure the information is communicated accurately.
Absolutely. And there's another, a really important layer to this.
Okay, what's that?
Accessibility.
Right.
Documents these days, they need to be accessible to everyone.
Of course, regardless of any disability.
Yeah, and Acrobat actually has these built-in tools that ensure PDFs meet all those accessibility standards, like WCAG and Section 508.
Okay, I'll admit, I usually just think about password protection when I think about PDFs.
Right.
But security is a whole other thing, especially, for IT professionals.
Oh, absolutely. And Robbins really dives deep on this. We're talking password protection, of course, but also redaction to hide sensitive info.
Huh?
And then there's digital signatures, which add a whole extra level of verification and trust.
Right, so we're talking about making sure only the right people can see the document.
Exactly, and that nobody's tampering with it. It's like a digital vault.
Makes sense.
But it gets even more interesting.
Oh.
Robbins talks about these advanced editing capabilities that I bet would surprise a lot of people who use Acrobat all the time.
Like what?
You can actually edit text and images directly within a PDF.
Wait, really? I always thought you had to go back to the original file to make any changes.
Most people do, but think about it. You've sent out like a 100-page manual, and you suddenly discover there's a typo on like page 87.
Oh, no.
With Acrobat, you can just fix it right then and there in the PDF without having to go back to the source document and mess up the whole layout.
Wow, that would save so much time and hassle.
Tons. And speaking of saving time, let's talk about collaboration.
Okay.
I mean, how often are you emailing like a million versions of a document back and forth to get feedback from everybody?
Oh my gosh, all the time. And the nightmare, keeping track of all the changes.
It's the worst. Well, Robbins suggests a better way, using Acrobat's commenting and markup tools.
Oh. Yeah?
So multiple people can actually give feedback in the same document.
Yeah.
You can even have like threaded conversations right there in the margins.
Like a virtual meeting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because it's all happening in real time, you can address issues immediately.
That's really cool. So much more efficient than the whole email chain thing.
Right. And you know what else is amazing?
What?
You can actually convert PDFs back to editable formats.
What? Hold on. How is that even possible?
Let's say you have like an old report in PDF, but you
Right.
need to update the data.
Mhm.
You can export it back to like Word or Excel
Wow.
without losing any of the original formatting.
That sounds almost too good to be true.
It's amazing. Talk about a productivity boost.
I'm starting to see why this Robbins guy calls Acrobat a secret weapon. So what's the most surprising thing you've learned about Acrobat?
That's a great question. And it leads us to another feature that most people don't know about. OCR.
OCR. Ringing a bell, but what is that again?
Optical character recognition.
Right. Okay.
And you know all those old paper documents that are just sitting in filing cabinets? OCR can actually transform them into searchable, editable, digital text.
So I could take a scanned copy of, like, an old network diagram and actually edit it.
Exactly. And you can search through it, too.
No way.
You need to find a specific component in that diagram.
Yeah.
You just search for it by name, and Acrobat will highlight it.
That's insane.
It's like a time machine for old document.
Love it.
And speaking of time-saving features, we got to talk about automation.
Okay, automation, go.
Acrobat has these things called actions.
Actions.
And with actions, you can create custom workflows to handle all those repetitive tasks.
Like what kind of tasks?
Imagine watermarking, like every single page of a 500-page manual.
No, sounds painful.
Or converting a bunch of files to different formats, or even compressing them for easier sharing.
Gotcha.
You can do all that with just a few clicks.
That's wild.
It's like having a personal assistant who just handles all the boring stuff for you.
Hmm.
And you can customize the workflows, too.
So less time on tedious tasks, more time for, the actual work.
Exactly. And like Robbins points out, it reduces the risk of errors, too.
Oh, right, because you're not doing it manually.
Exactly.
Robbins is making a pretty compelling case for Acrobat here. So how does all of this specifically help technical writers and IT professionals?
Oh, great question. Let's dive into that. Let's start with technical writers. I mean, think about how many documents they deal with.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's crazy. And Robbins is really arguing that Acrobat can be a total game changer when it comes to document management.
Makes sense. When you're talking about manuals that are hundreds of pages long or super complex software documentation,
Right.
things can get out of hand pretty quickly.
Totally. So many versions, revisions, feedback from different teams.
Yeah,
It's a lot to keep track of.
definitely.
And without a good system in place,
Uh-huh.
it's so easy to lose track of things.
Right.
And then that leads to errors,
Oh, yeah.
delays, all that.
Costly mistakes for sure.
Exactly. And Acrobat helps by bringing all of those elements together in one place.
Okay.
You can manage versions, track changes, put all the feedback together, and it just ensures that everyone's working from the latest version.
So no more digging through emails to find that one comment.
Nope. It's all right there, neatly organized. And remember those style and formatting tools we talked about?
Yeah?
Those are really useful here, too. You can apply consistent styling across, even the biggest documents.
Right, so everything looks polished and professional.
Exactly.
Which, like we said, is so important in tech.
For sure. And speaking of trust, let's talk about collaboration.
Oh.
Technical writers, they almost never work alone.
Yeah.
They're always talking to engineers, designers, subject matter experts, all those people.
Yeah, you've got a whole team.
And collaboration can be great, but
Yeah.
it can also be a real pain.
I know, you get so many different opinions, it can be hard to keep track.
Right. And Robbins really points out how Acrobat can totally change that. You remember those real-time commenting and annotation features?
Yeah.
Those are a lifesaver when you're collaborating.
So instead of sending files back and forth and trying to figure out whose feedback is whose,
Yeah.
you can all work together on the same document at the same time
Exactly.
and see everyone's comments and suggestions.
Yep. Like a virtual roundtable right on the document.
I love it. I can see how that would streamline things so much.
Oh, yeah. Especially for those massive projects that Robbins was talking about.
Right, because with those big projects, you need all the help you can get.
For sure. Speaking of big projects, there's another key concept that Robbins brings up. Scalability.
Scalability.
Technical documents can be huge.
Yeah.
Hundreds or even thousands of pages long.
Half away.
Managing that much content efficiently is a real challenge.
It is. It really is.
And that's where Acrobat's automation capabilities come in. Those actions we talked about earlier.
Oh, right.
Those are so useful. You can automate all those little tedious tasks that take forever.
Like, for instance,
Imagine watermarking every single page of a 500-page manual.
I don't even want to think about that.
Or converting a whole bunch of files to different formats.
Right.
Or even just compressing them to make it easier to share them.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
You can do all of that with just a few clicks.
Wow. Okay. I'm impressed.
It's like having a personal assistant to handle all the boring stuff.
Definitely.
And the cool thing is you can actually customize those workflows too.
So it fits your exact process.
Exactly.
I like that.
And, like Robbins says, it also reduces errors.
Oh, yeah, because you're not doing everything manually.
Right. And beyond all these immediate benefits, Robbins really emphasizes something that's important for technical writers. Long-term usability.
Oh, right.
The documents they create have to last a long time.
Oh, yeah.
They might be used for years or even decades.
That's true, like a product manual.
Exactly, or technical specifications. They need to be accessible long after the product launches.
Totally.
And that's where PDFs are really great.
Hmm.
They're built to be archival.
Right.
So they'll look the same way years from now.
I've definitely noticed that.
And with Acrobat, you can optimize them and compress them so they're not gigantic files,
Right.
but they don't lose any quality.
I see.
So you're basically future-proofing your work.
That's a good way to put it, making sure everything's accessible for years to come.
Exactly. Now, let's shift gears a bit and talk about IT professionals.
Okay.
Their world is all about security and efficiency, and Robbins makes a strong case for how Acrobat helps with both of those.
I can see how security would be super important for them.
Oh, yeah.
They're dealing with so much sensitive data.
Network configurations, system access, all sorts of confidential stuff.
Right.
And Acrobat has all those security features we talked about. Password protection, redaction, digital signatures, all that's there to make sure that only the right people can access that information.
So it's not just about keeping the data safe, it's about making sure that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands.
Exactly. But it's not all about locking things down.
Okay.
IT pros also have to create and share information.
Right. Things like support docs and training materials.
Yeah.
And let's be real, those internal documents aren't always the best.
I know, right.
They can be confusing and hard to use.
Yeah, they don't exactly inspire confidence, do they?
Not really.
But Robbins argues that Acrobat can actually change that.
Interesting.
With its layout tools and formatting tools, IT teams can make really polished, professional-looking guides, manuals, FAQs, things that are actually easy to understand.
So no more hastily put together Word docs.
Exactly. And because PDFs work on pretty much any device,
Right.
IT teams can be sure that their support stuff can be accessed by everybody.
It's all about providing a good user experience, right?
Totally. Which in turn reflects well on the IT department.
Yeah. And on the company as a whole.
Exactly.
Now, we all know that IT people are super busy.
Oh, yeah.
Juggling tons of systems, applications, workflows.
Definitely.
The last thing they need is to learn a whole new complicated tool.
Right. They need something that's easy to use.
Exactly. And that's where integration comes in, right?
Yes. Robbins talks about how Acrobat actually fits into existing IT workflows really well.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about how it integrates with Microsoft Office, cloud services, all the common IT tools.
So they don't have to start from scratch.
Nope. They don't have to spend hours learning a whole new system. Acrobat just plugs right in.
So it's all about maximizing efficiency, right?
Yeah.
And minimizing any disruption to what they're already doing.
Seamless integration is key, especially in an IT environment that's already so complex.
That's for sure. Speaking of complex, we can't forget about compliance.
Oh, right. Yes.
IT departments are always under pressure to make sure the organization follows all the rules.
Regulations, data privacy standards, all of that.
And with all the sensitive information they handle, compliance can be a nightmare.
Absolutely. We've talked about redaction and encryption, but are there other features in Acrobat that can help with this?
That's a good question.
Oh, yeah. Acrobat lets you track all the changes that are made to documents and create what are called audit trails.
Okay.
So you have a record of who looked at what information and when.
Oh, okay.
That's super important for proving that you're compliant.
Right, and making sure that sensitive data is being handled properly.
It's not just about doing things right. It's about proving that you did them right.
Yeah.
That documentation can be really valuable, especially if you ever get audited. And it just gives you peace of mind, knowing that you have that record in case anyone has any questions.
So is Robbins basically saying that mastering Acrobat is becoming like a necessity now?
I think that's exactly what he's saying. As our world becomes more and more digital, the ability to work with PDFs effectively is just essential.
It's not just a nice-to-have skill anymore.
Exactly.
It's something everyone needs to know.
I mean, think about it. PDFs are everywhere.
Sure.
Contracts, invoices, reports, presentations.
Yeah.
It's just the standard format for sharing and saving information now.
It really is.
And as that trend continues, knowing how to use a tool like Acrobat to really work with those PDFs is just going to become more and more valuable.
So it's not enough to just be able to open a PDF and read it.
Nope.
You've got to be able to go beyond that.
You got to be able to use all those advanced features.
And that's what Robbins is getting at, right?
Exactly.
Mastering Acrobat is an investment.
It is.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
Creating content that's secure and accessible.
And that's going to last.
Exactly.
It's about taking control of your documents and really using them to their full potential.
It really is amazing, isn't it, how a tool that we all kind of take for granted can really change how we work.
Totally. Like we've been using a smartphone just to, I don't know, make calls. And we had no clue about all the other cool stuff it could do.
Yeah, exactly. And with Acrobat, it's kind of the same thing. The more you dig into it, the more you realize how much it can do.
Robbins definitely showed us that.
For sure.
I mean, think about being able to fix a typo in like a huge manual without messing up the whole layout, or
Yeah.
making an old scanned document searchable, or even just like automating all those annoying tasks that take forever.
It's incredible, and those little things can actually make a huge difference in your workflow.
Oh, for sure. Think of all the time you save
So much time.
and the errors you prevent.
Not to mention the frustration.
Seriously. It's like instead of fighting with your documents, you're actually in control of them.
Exactly. And that feeling of control can be really empowering.
I bet. You're taking ownership of your work, making sure it looks good, and making sure it stays accessible for as long as people need it.
It's about doing things right.
So as we wrap up here, I think the biggest thing we've learned is don't underestimate Adobe Acrobat.
Seriously, it's so much more than just a PDF viewer.
Way more.
It can completely change how you create, manage, and share information.
And for anyone listening, the next time you open a PDF, really take a minute to look around, try out some features, and you might just find something that changes how you work.
You might never look at a PDF the same way again.
Exactly.